It started as an ordinary evening, quiet and unremarkable, the kind of night where the world outside feels distant and forgotten. The rain tapped lightly against the glass panes, the rhythmic sound both calming and isolating. In the dim light of her living room, Emily sat curled up on the sofa, scrolling aimlessly through her phone. The house was silent except for the storm, yet every creak of the old wooden floor seemed louder, every shadow in the corners stretched darker. Her house wasn't new. It was the kind of place where the walls whispered with age, where sometimes at night you couldn't tell if the sound came from the wind or something else. Emily had lived there long enough to know the difference, or at least she thought she did. Around midnight, she stood to close the curtains. The storm had grown stronger, lightning splitting the sky, illuminating the neighborhood in harsh, brief flashes. Her eyes drifted toward the window, and for the first time that night, her heart stuttered. Standing just beyond the glass, in the yard half hidden by rain, was a figure. A man. Tall, unmoving, his face obscured by the reflection of the storm. For a moment, Emily froze. She blinked, convinced her mind had conjured the shape from the branches and shadows. But then the lightning came again, and there he was, closer than before. Her breath caught. She stumbled backward, pulse hammering in her throat. Who would be outside at this hour, in this weather? She reached for her phone, hands trembling, but the screen flickered, then died. No signal. The storm had knocked it out. Panic began to gnaw at her, yet she forced herself to the window again. Empty. No one. The yard stretched bare, the only movement the swaying trees and rain-soaked grass. She laughed nervously to herself, muttering, "Just tired, just imagining things." But deep down, she knew what she had seen. The house suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. She pulled the curtains shut, locking the latch, and moved from room to room, double-checking every door, every window. Still, the feeling of being watched clung to her skin. She poured herself a glass of water, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. That's when she heard it. A faint tapping. Not the rain, not the wind. Slow, deliberate, coming from the window. She froze in the kitchen, staring at the dark outline of the glass door that led to the backyard. Another tap, louder this time, and with it, a shadow. Emily's heart pounded. She wanted to run, to scream, but terror pinned her in place. Gathering what little courage she had left, she reached for the blinds and pulled them down in one swift motion. Nothing. Just her reflection staring back, pale and wide-eyed. She backed away slowly, afraid to turn her back on the glass. Minutes crawled by, each second stretching endlessly. She forced herself to sit, to breathe, convincing herself it was only paranoia. Yet, just as her body began to relax, the lights flickered once, then went out completely, plunging the house into suffocating darkness. The storm roared louder outside as if mocking her fear. She grabbed a flashlight from the drawer, its weak beam cutting through the black, and swept it across the room. That's when she saw him. The beam landed on the window. He was there again, standing inches away, face pressed against the glass. This time, there was no mistaking it. His skin was pale, stretched too tightly over sharp bones. His eyes, black and hollow, locked with hers. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there, smiling with a grin that made her stomach twist. She screamed, stumbling backward, knocking over a chair. The flashlight slipped from her hand, the beam spinning wildly before dying out. Her chest heaved with panicked breaths as she scrambled blindly through the dark. She knew she had to get out, but every direction felt wrong, every shadow alive. She reached the front door, fumbling with the locks, but the key stuck. Her shaking hands betrayed her as tears blurred her vision. Behind her, she heard it, the unmistakable sound of glass cracking. Slowly, deliberately. He was coming in. Her survival instinct roared awake. Abandoning the front door, she darted upstairs, 2 steps at a time, heart hammering like it would explode. She slammed her bedroom door, locking it, shoving the dresser against it with all her strength. Then she collapsed into the corner, pressing her back to the wall, listening. For a moment, silence. Then footsteps. Slow, heavy, deliberate, moving through the house. He was inside. The footsteps grew louder, closer, until they reached the stairs. Each creak of wood sent fresh terror down her spine. He was coming for her, and there was nowhere left to run. She clamped her hand over her mouth, trying to stifle her sobs. The sound of his steps stopped right outside her bedroom door. She held her breath, waiting for the inevitable pounding, the splintering of wood. Instead, there was only a soft whisper, so faint she thought she had imagined it. "I can see you." Her vision blurred with terror, her entire body trembling. She wanted to scream, to fight, but her body refused to move. Minutes dragged on, silence pressing against her ears. Slowly, cautiously, she pressed her ear to the door. Nothing. No breathing, no footsteps. Gathering what little courage remained, she nudged the dresser aside, inch by inch, her movements painstakingly slow. She turned the key, pushed the door open, and peeked into the hallway. Empty. The house was silent again, but it was a silence that felt wrong, charged with something unseen. Emily crept down the hall, flashlight shaking in her grip. She reached the stairs and shone the beam down into the living room. Nothing. Furniture overturned, glass shattered, but no man. She descended carefully, every step an eternity. When she reached the bottom, her phone lay on the floor, screen glowing faintly. A single notification blinked. With trembling hands, she picked it up. It was a photo. Her. Taken moments ago. From upstairs. Her blood ran cold. Slowly, she lifted her gaze toward the second floor. And in the beam of her flashlight at the window of her bedroom, he stood. Watching. Smiling.